It is a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. We are covering the third guild boss, and this one a lot of you know already. It's the Red Velvet Dragon. However, a lot of things have changed. So, if some of you remember, the original level 1 boss only had 3,100,000 health. The new level 1 boss has over 10 million. And if you look here at level 8, we are up to 114 million HP. Now you can see though, the damage and the defense, so the attack and defense, they're not as big. That's because it's still low level dragons. So what they've done is they've altered the scale adjustments of HP and more so lowered the attack and defense so that it feels like a guild boss. And this is nice. This is very similar to how the raid battle kind of works when the Squid Ink raid battles were going on. So that's kind of what the adjustments they did here. Now, of course, this team, a lot of you probably already know, this is the most viable team right now. The only other potential replacement is Affogato for Oyster. That does a pretty good job too, but you need some really crazy stats on your toppings to make it truly work. So, to go through real quick what the toppings are on this setup, it's okay if you run damage resistance, it's okay if you run attack, it's even okay if you run critical or cooldown toppings on dark chocolate, not cacao. 9.6% is the kind of sweet spot of cooldown. That's pretty hard to get on most toppings that are not cooldown toppings because 10 is the max as substat on non-cooldown toppings. But 9.6% is a good setup because of the timings of everything and how you want to get that defense down so that your other cookies can land their hits perfectly in a sense that it does the most effective amount of damage. If you do not land it in the right time, Affogato can only keep them extended so long by the debuff resistance, or enhancements I should say. So for that reason you can kind of lose out on some power there. Now, Affogato is running critical. You can run Searing Attack instead, and you can even run cooldown. And I think I'm going to make an adjustment to get to cooldown with some high attack and high critical stats, but the thing is, what I'm going to discuss is that as you go up in the levels, things are going to change. So I would recommend getting ready to build like relatively 2 sets of toppings for each of your cookie setups because you're going to have different situations at different levels. And I'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. Eclair, I've been running at a full cooldown. I want those shields as much as possible. I want to get those weakness cast as much as possible. I want to just get that hammered out to the point where I know I am taking down not only the dragon as fast as possible, but also dealing the damage to the minions so that I get the shields. Same thing with Cotton. Cooldown high as possible. That way you can get those sheep, you can get the damage, you can get that healing, keep it running. And then Vampire, as much damage as you can pile on. Critical as a secondary substat. Attack speed, also a great substat too. But let me discuss this though. At level 8, you're going to run into your cookies probably dying a little bit. So, I highly recommend the higher the level you go, the more damage resistance you have ready to keep the team running. Because if you don't, you're going to start running into some hard spots. And that's why I'm making to look adjustments in secondary topping sets for those reasons. So, for instance, let me show you level 6. Level 6 dragon. We're going to go ahead and practice. Timings really do matter here, so let me show you what they are. So we wait for Cotton, and I always go by this little second pillar right there. I soft lock on auto. I run Eclair right away, Affogato not long after. And before you get to 2 seconds on the slingshot, run DC, and then you can auto from here. Now, the reason it's set up like that is you want the weakness to cast first. You want the Affogato's poison and the debuff enhancements to go second, so that you get those poison ticks. You want the defense down from dark chocolate, so that way everything starts giving more damage off, and, higher damage. Then Vampire is going to tick off, dealing the bleed and the critical strikes. And as you can see, we don't have enough damage resistance on certain cookies, so we've lost Affogato and Eclair here. And if we didn't, we'd probably be able to take out this dragon completely, as we just ran out of time right before completely destroying it. Like, we took all but 7% health at 68 million damage. And so Vampire, the heavy carry here, big time. But you can go a little bit further. So we're going to go back into this. We're going to actually go to level 7 now. show you a little bit of difference here. So, yet again, we're going to wait for that timing. Wait till we get to that pillar. Soft lock it. Get Eclair going. Affogato going. Get DC going at the right time. And get going. And yet again, just let it run after that point. Now, you're going to see that we do a little bit more damage here. And the reason being is the stats are different each time on each of these dragons. And the timings of the enemies change from each dragon. So certain dragons are going to do a little bit more. Some are going to do a little bit less. And that will be important. It's hard to get the consistency of the results on those. But you can see here just how much damage we are piling through, especially with Vampire. Vampire's dealing insane damages on all of these dragons. So here we go. We went from 94 million, dealing almost 70 million. Yet again, high damages, especially from Affogato. And here's the thing. Affogato is going to probably be one of the cookies that scales the best with these dragons because the poison scales with the HP scaling. So definitely look for Affogato to be built if you do not have Affogato built, because the damage just keeps increasing from that standpoint. And I may actually even bring back Mushroom Cookie for similar reasons, but I still have yet to test that to be sure. So we'll see how that pairs out and how that kind of works. But nonetheless, Affogato is a huge build for this team if you want to really run it to the point of maximum damage. Now, if you go down to like Dragon 2, and we use that same team, unlike some of the other bosses that you have to use a few different variations, and we set that up, here you should just be able to, if you have enough strength, enough monument upgrades, enough lab upgrades and everything, you should just be able to take this dragon out. Here's the fun thing. When you do, you can continue. So, we have 45 seconds left. If we were not in a practice mode right now, we would have the option down here to just hit resume. And if we did, we would resume with every cookie we have there, every cooldown, and all of that. Just, it would continue, and we would rerun up to the dragon again. And so if we were to do that, with this team, we would be able to plow through at least level 1, 2, and maybe even 3 dragons. Depends on how fast and how hard your team can hit. So you do get carryover damage now, which is a really great feature, and I'm happy they added it. So this is the team, though. This is what's running. This is what works. We're looking at other teams. We're seeing what else kind of works because of the changes and the differences that you get from the boss battle now. So there may be other teams to come, and I'm definitely going to be researching those. But they'll be low-level dragon teams. This is going to be the best team right now for most of the dragons, but we might be able to get something else out that works really well. So just kind of look for that. Be ready for that. But I hope this at least helps you for your first few levels of dragons, because it did change. It is a little bit different. Timing is super crucial, and so is toppings. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I hope this is helpful for you, and best of luck. Happy hunting on dragon heads. Thank you, and have a great night.